Welcome into the Cowboys Report. You guys know the drill. Use hashtag Cowboys, or like so many of you have done today, Super Chat to get your questions on the show. JG says trade up with the Lions for 17, 51, and a fifth rounder for third overall. The Lions say no. That is not enough draft capital. A fifth round pick, because remember, 17 and 51 gets you to around pick number 8. A fifth rounder maybe gets you to pick 7. Like, it doesn't actually move the needle very much there in the end. So I would love to get to number 3 if that was the cost. I have a very tough time seeing that actually happening. All right, Caleb Queen, what's so good about Chaisson? He's small, not good production and has ACL problems. I understand the concerns about Chaisson. Now, I wouldn't consider him that small. I know he's not a big body, but he is like 6'3", 254. His arm length is 32 inches. I think that's fine. Chaisson is what we call an ascending player. The production, you're right, it was not great. If the production was great, he'd be a top 10 pick. Because the athleticism is there. Now, yes, there was the ACL tear as well. That's a concern back in 2018. But if you go back and look at the player you saw early on in 2018 or even in 2019 and look at where he was at the end of the season, he was really good. And I want to make note, too, LSU dropped into coverage a lot, and that kind of helped reduce some of his production. So there are concerns why he might be there in round 1, but as an upside, bendy, edge rusher, I really like Chaisson in an otherwise pretty iffy draft class for that spot. Kevin Cobb, what position should the boys focus on at 17, or best player regardless of position? The Cowboys try to set themselves up where they can take the best player on the board. The problem is, even though you always want to take the best player, you have to factor in need. For example, you could have a scenario, even if it's just a trade down scenario, where the best player on your board is a running back. It makes no sense to go RB at number 17 or at number 25 or wherever you end up trading down. So you want to take the best player available at a position of need. And the Cowboys, by signing some safeties and defensive linemen and bringing back some cornerback depth, are trying to go that route as best that they possibly can. Another super chat for Alakai Trimble. Lots of tweeners in this draft. Do a video of them. I don't know if we'll go about that. Alakai, will say, I believe you're subscribed to our main YouTube channel. We'll have plenty of talk about the tweeners over there, so make sure you're subscribed on that channel. All right, question coming up now. Which NFC East rival do you hate the most? Type R for the Redskins, E for the Eagles, or G for the Giants. I'm curious how the votes climb in here. So type your votes. R for the Redskins, E Eagles, J for Giants. Let me know what you guys think. Now, we'll give some shout-outs here as well, because I'm very curious what the votes are. I see a lot of E's coming in. Winston Shan does not like the Eagles. That's very clear. You know what, Alicia? We're going to have to call this early, I think. I think it's Eagles in a landslide. I see 90% Eagles coming in here. I see a couple of Redskins, a handful of Giants. I think 80% Eagles. Yeah, I think Eagles here clearly has won this particular vote. But keep them coming, R, E, or G. Super chat from Ethan Tyra. He says 17 to the Dolphins for 39 and 56. That is a pretty significant slide down for the Cowboys. You're moving down a full 20 picks. Now, in terms of what the trade value chart says, like you are moving down quite a bit here. The value ends up being pretty close to right. Maybe you're looking for actually a touch more in terms of the value. But I think that's close. 7, what you might try to do, Ethan, maybe you try and move down from like 17 to 21 and then do that trade. That might end up being the proper value. But if you do want to move down, I think the Dolphins would be interested in that particular deal. Gary Sane, any chance Delpit is there in round 2? I say a slight chance, but I'm talking like 1 or 2%. Safeties are weird. But I think somebody in round 2 before the Cowboys, be it the Bears or the Bucks or the Colts even, or Bears again, or the Browns at 41 in particular make a lot of sense to me. I think somebody in round 2 pulls the trigger. I still think Delpit ends up being a pretty safe top, I'll say 41 for the Browns pick, draft pick this year. There are understandable, significant tackling concerns and some injury concerns, but I wouldn't anticipate Delpit being there in 51. However, if he starts to slide down into the early 40s, I might trade up if I were the Cowboys at that point. Jaycee Cochran, even with Poe and McCoy, would the Cowboys still go D-line in round 1? I think if Derek Brown or Javon Kinlaw were there, yes, they would. The way the Poe and McCoy deals are structured, they are short-term solutions. You can get out of that deal after year 1 if you want. And both those guys are older. I don't know how much faith you guys have in Tristan Hill. Probably not very much right now. But I think that could be an option, but only if the value is right. You don't have to reach for anybody right now because you added those 2 players. Now, speaking of Poe and McCoy, Fatty's only 2020. It's not going anywhere. And in fact, the way that Fatty's only 2020 peaks is with a fat guy touchdown. I need that in my life next season. And if you guys want a Fatty's only t-shirt, get yours today. chatsports.com/Fatty's only. Shout out Teespring for hooking us up with that. chatsports.com/Fatty's only. That link is in the comments and it's in the description. So all you guys got to do is go click and figure out what color you guys want. All right, Troy Daniels. Dallas trades 17 to the Raiders for 19 and their 4th rounder this season. It's about right on the trade value. I think the Raiders would be amenable to that. And that's a revenge trade to the Eagles for what they did last year. Interesting idea. I don't hate it. I assume your theory here, Troy, is that the Raiders want a receiver so that the Eagles can't get him. I think that makes sense. I'd be okay with that deal as long as there isn't the player you desperately covered at 17 still on the board. Longtime subscriber Film Productions coming in here. Do you see the Cowboys trading back a few spots in round 1? What would we get in return? Well, Film, we did run through some potential trade ideas. If you go down maybe 5-ish spots, you're going to be looking at an extra 3rd-round pick somewhere in that range. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little more, depending on what team you trade with and what picks are available. If you move down further, you might be able to end up get a 2nd-round pick, but at that point, you got to move down. I'm talking like 10-ish spots. Then it starts to make some sense. And if you trade down, you're probably looking for someone. Maybe it's a secondary player. Maybe it's a McKinney, a Delpit, a Fulton, a Gladney, or a Trayvon Diggs. Like, at that point, that probably makes sense if a Henderson, Chaisson that you wanted is actually off the board. Because then after those guys, I think for the Cowboys, gets a little bit dicey. I got a deal for you guys here. chatsports.com/Cowboys jersey. You can save 25% off a custom jersey, a Zeke jersey, a Dak jersey at chatsports.com/Cowboys jersey. You know why that deal is still going on. Custom jerseys are also available. There is no Dontari Poe, Clinton Dix, or Gerald McCoy yet, but you can get a custom Cowboys jersey. That link is in the comments and it's in the description. So all you guys got to do is go click and shop. Keegan Underwood, would you take Cameron Dantzler, the cornerback out of Mississippi State, at number 82 overall? If he's there, yes, I would. Now, as you guys might have seen, Cameron Dantzler allegedly ran a sub-4.4 at his pro day. I will make this point once. I'll have to make it a bunch of other times. I'm taking the pro day numbers, folks, the pro day numbers, and I'm throwing them in the dumpster. I don't believe them. He ran a 4.66 at the combine. Now, he's faster than that. He's not a sub-4.4 guy. But in round 3, yes, I would take him. JJ the Mime, do you think Dak will be a Cowboys great? I mean, I hope so, right? So far, so good. We've only seen 4 years of Dak. He's not yet entered his prime. If he continues to improve and grow, then yes, I think Dak is on his way to being a Cowboys great. But of course, you can't call him that quite yet. Speaking of greats, who is the best Cowboys player of all time? This is a very controversial question because there are a lot of routes you can go. Roger Staubach could make sense. Troy Aikman could go. Bob Lilly, if you want to really throw back the clock there. There are a ton of great Cowboys players. I see Emmitt Smith in there. That's a pretty good one as well. I like that pick. Troy Aikman, Larry Allen. I do love me some Deion Sanders there, Barrett. A lot of Emmett's coming in. Emmett's probably a good answer because I will argue he is the greatest back of all time because of his production. But keep what's coming here. The greatest Cowboys player of all time. Alakai Trimble says, don't answer. Load up on Boise players. And then he laughs, but why? I'll explain the Cowboys, appeal and why they like Boise State players. They like players from that organization. I think they believe that they're coached up well. They like the people that the players are, if that makes sense. I don't know if this year you'll see a load up on Boise State players. 2 names to watch, though. Curtis Weaver, the edge rusher, maybe a round 2, round 3 target for Dallas. And then John Hightower, a vertical speedy receiver who could be a day 3 target for Dallas. Next up from Alan Williams. After the draft, will Dallas still sign players from free agency? If they are, who do you want Dallas to sign? I think you have to wait and see what happens. You have to see what's going on in terms of what you did in the draft. If you went cornerback and receiver early, let's say round 1, round 2, guess what? I don't need to go out and sign a cornerback in free agency. I don't need to go out and sign a receiver in free agency. If you can't address those spots, then I come back and take a look at it. So from that perspective, I think you have to go at this one with less than 2 weeks to go. It is draft first. Then you can revisit and figure, okay, what other spots do I want to try to address here and take care of when it comes to the holes left on my roster. But I think looking at defensive line, probably still some depth, cornerback, receiver, all makes some sense. All right, Winston Shan, would you pick Curtis Weaver in the 2nd? I think there's a path or a possibility that Weaver would be the best player left on my board in round 2. But I think there'd probably be somebody else. So I wouldn't hate that. I don't know what Weaver is, how he's viewed in the NFL community. I think he's going to be a pretty divisive player. But I would be okay with Curtis Weaver in round 2. I just think there's probably going to be a better player that I'll end up preferring. Jaycee Cochran, again, we took a chance on Aldon Smith. Why not take a chance on Josh Gordon? It's a good question. Yeah, you're also taking another chance on Randy Gregory too, in all likelihood. I mean, at this point, why not, right? Like, let's just bring them all in and see what happens. Gordon's issues are different than Alden's issues. They're different than Gregory's issues. They're all different people with different problems. Sure, you can try it, but I'm kind of in the same boat. Let's take a look at the draft first. You might get a draft guy, and then you might not need a receiver necessarily. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.